Now on 12, developing news in Ridge, where Suffolk cops say a man murdered his girlfriend and barricaded himself inside a home. We're on the scene with the latest.
And an invisible scare in the air. A Baldwin family rushed to the hospital over fears of carbon monoxide poisoning. Why officials say there's something to learn from what happened.
And crews in Kings Point are back at it, fighting a fire inside a local park tonight. Why firefighters are having a tough time containing it. The news begins now.
As local news gets. News 12, Long Island.
And thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jackie Lucas.
And I'm Drew Scott. A developing story out of Suffolk tonight, where we're beginning to learn more about a homicide in the community of Ridge.
Police say they were in a standoff this afternoon with a man after he murdered his girlfriend. This all went down at an apartment complex on Village Drive.
It's where we find News 12 Long Island's Sean Bergen. He's following the developments with our mobile unit. Sean?
Yeah, Drew, we're at the Brookwood Apartments here off Route 25 in Ridge, where cops say a domestic dispute turned deadly earlier this morning. Now, this was the scene here shortly after this all unfolded around 11:30 this morning. Suffolk police say they received a flurry of 911 calls reporting shots fired. When they arrived on the scene, they say they found a woman dead from an apparent gunshot wound on the front lawn in front of her condo. They say the woman's unidentified boyfriend had barricaded himself inside the apartment with two small children. It wasn't long after that they say SWAT team members arrived, and then the man shot at cops with a rifle. This was Suffolk's Chief of Homicide, Detective Lieutenant Jack Fitzpatrick, just a short time ago.
Eventually, emergency services officers showed up. Negotiations with the suspect in the house resulted in him releasing his two young children. And at some point, he engaged emergency services officers, firing at least 6 rounds at them. They returned fire. No one was hit in that exchange of fire, and eventually he surrendered.
Now, earlier I did speak with a neighbor by phone who told me over the phone that he heard shots ring out around 11:30. Then he heard a woman screaming, followed by more shots, and he says that was followed by silence until he heard a fusillade of gunfire, which must have been the exchange of gunfire that he had with members of the SWAT team. That unidentified suspect is now in custody. One woman is dead, and we understand the children are also safely in custody. Also. We expect to have much more on this developing story tonight at 10 o'clock. That right now is the latest from Ridge. Sean Bergen, News 12 Long Island. Jackie?
Sean, thank you. 3 men stabbed in a deli brawl in Patchogue. It happened just before 8:30 last night at El Provocone Meat Market. When police arrived, they say the officers found 3 men who had been stabbed. 2 of the victims were taken to the Brookhaven Memorial Hospital, but are expected to be okay. It's not clear what the men were fighting about. So far, no one has been arrested.
And another brawl broke out overnight in Southold Town Hospital's emergency room. It happened just after midnight at Greenport's Eastern Long Island Hospital. Police say a fight broke out between 3 men who had gotten into a street fight just minutes earlier on Adams Street. 2 of the men were treated for serious lacerations, but the other man was transferred to Stony Brook University Hospital for more serious injuries. We're told some hospital staff were also hurt trying to break up the fight. No one has been arrested so far.
A family from Baldwin lucky to be alive. 9 people rushed to the hospital after a carbon monoxide scare. And as Antoinette Biordi explains, there's a lesson we could all learn from the incident.
Some scary moments for a family in Baldwin. 6 adults and 3 children rushed to the hospital after fire officials say this home started filling with smoke and carbon monoxide.
When we got there, we determined that it was an oil burner problem, what we call a puffback, and the entire house was charged with smoke.
Second Deputy Baldwin Fire Chief Karen Bedell says smoke was coming out of the windows and doors when they arrived around 7:30 this morning at this home in Baldwin. Bedell says the oil burner wasn't working properly. She says calls like this to the fire department are common right now.
We call it oil burner season here at the fire service. As the temperatures get colder and people fire up their burners, then we get more alarms like this.
Thankfully, the family had fire alarms and were able to get out of the house quickly. Now, fire officials say the carbon monoxide levels got significantly high in just a short amount of time.
There were carbon monoxide readings anywhere from 25 to over 120, depending on which room you were in.
Bendel says the 6 adults and 3 children were taken to area hospitals and treated for headaches. They're expected to make a full recovery.
Scary. It's scary. I hope they're okay. They're a nice family.
In Baldwin, Antoinette Biordi, News 12, Long Island.
And officials say the best piece of advice is to get your oil burner serviced by a professional and always make sure you change out the batteries in your fire alarm and carbon monoxide detectors.
A probe into the use of deadly force by Nassau's police force. It is the latest Newsday investigation, taking a look at every police-involved shooting in Nassau County since the year 2006. Over the past 7 years, deadly force investigators never once found officers to be in the wrong when they opened fire. This year alone, Newsday found there have been 8 police-involved shootings within the county. You can pick up a copy of today's paper to read more into the probe. If you want to read it online, just go to news12.com and click on numbers and links.
And tonight on the North Shore, crews are back at it for day 2 of fighting a unique fire in Kings Point. The fire covered more than 2 acres. Today, I visited Kings Point Park to see how crews are making progress. It's a story you saw first on 12.
It's just so labor intensive. It's not the easiest thing to put out.
It's day 2 and firefighters are still working hard to put out a fire at Kings Point Park. But officials say this isn't your ordinary fire because this one is burning underground. Some spots around 6 feet deep.
The fire right now, the heat's in the ground. So we're actively just trying to dig the fire out and get it out of the ground. It's not your normal surface fire that we have on the eastern edge of the island. It's kind of a different animal. So it's just down dirty work.
We're in there now doing it the hard way. Shovels, rakes, and water cans and so forth.
And a Nassau County Police helicopter has been going up every few hours. They're using thermal imaging to tell firefighters exactly where the hot spots are. Officials say the fire is contained and they're better off today than they were yesterday. But Nassau's Chief Fire Marshal Scott Tusa says last night they had to suspend operations.
It had become too dangerous to operate in there. Some trees that had their roots burned from underneath were falling down.
More than 24 departments are working to extinguish this fire. Suffolk even brought in their stump jumpers, but because the fire is underground, it was unsafe to use the vehicles.
It creates a dangerous situation because the vehicles and the manpower don't realize what's going on. They don't see anything except for some smoke, and they could step and go through a soft area.
The fire covers over 2 acres of the park, but these residents are thankful no homes are in danger.
Hopefully they'll put it out quickly and we'll get our park back.
And officials say it's unclear how the fire started, but it does not seem to be suspicious. They hope to have it extinguished by tonight and hope the rain will also help efforts. Drew?
All right, it's time now to get a check on our weather. Norm Devoskin is here in the Weather Center. He's got your hyperlocal forecast. And Norm, we might get some relief for those firefighters.
Yes, we had a little bit of drizzle today, some spotty showers, and then overnight some heavier rain as a cold front approaches, and that could produce some heavy downpours and thunderstorms, but we could even have a little bit of lightning, but we do expect some heavier rain, and that would help the situation. Right now we have overcast skies across Long Island, all across the Northeast. There is a cold front approaching with some heavier showers, and that'll be with us overnight. The thunderstorm could occur very, very late tonight towards dawn. Cloudy with showers, late thunderstorms, southeast winds at 15 to 25 miles an hour. So kind of a gusty wind out there. Temperatures in the 50s, Westbury 54, Yaphank 56, on the North Fork 55 at Cutchogue. For Monday, look for the showers to end early, then clearing and windy, kind of a breezy day. West-southwest winds at 15 to 20 miles an hour. Temperatures running in the 60s, normal high 53, so a nice mild day once again, but it will be breezy. Jericho 64, Riverhead 67, Bridgehampton on the South Fork 65 degrees. For tonight, look for some showers and thunderstorms and temperatures in the 50s. 7-day forecast coming up later in the news.
All right, Norm, thank you.
Still ahead tonight, the president of the Philippines standing by his people.
Next for you on 12, the big move the leader is making as the death toll in this country continues to climb.
And we've got an update on the troubled Obamacare website. What the White House says about their deadline to fix it when we come back.